Now we got another women's fight, probably one of the biggest women's fight we've been anticipating for a while. It's been rescheduled. When you think back to, Gillian Robertson basically took a fight on short notice against Taylor Santos, and I think that was probably one of the biggest learning curves you can expect, right? It's a huge, huge prospect now that you think about, where she's going to go from here. And I think that when you look at, both these girls kind of fought Pro Gonzalez on different stages, but when you look at the grappling bout that she won in the first round, she's now going into her next UFC bout with that one under the belt. So I think that Miranda Maverick, when you look at what she did in Invicta, we talked about this fight before against Pro Gonzalez, some of these fighters towards the end of the career, but at the same time, looking like a good prospect. The striking was very, very crisp. I mean, the takedown defense seems to be there. And when you look at the fight with Liana Jojo, I mean, we obviously see that the fight was stopped via that crazy, gashing on the nose. But, I think that still is something to say about her striking. She was able to throw some really quick elbows in there. I think that would look really, really good. I think that's where Gillian, I think that's probably where most of her attention's going. I think she has all the faith in the world in her grappling. I think that her wrestling can definitely get crisper, and she's got guys like Jose Shorty Torres to help her with that. Now Tyron Woodley, who's a great wrestler as well. And I think that's where, having more ways to get the fight to the ground is definitely an area where she's just going to benefit more, right? Because everybody knows Gillian Robertson, most submission wins in women's UFC history. So she's got the game, she belongs, and she got moved up to the main card. That was something that she was hoping for, and there it is, right? So all those opportunities are finally coming, and I think that this is a fight where she's also being considered that massive underdog, right? You're not seeing much movement from that Miranda Maverick side from what I can see, that minus 170, but people are starting to put some money on Gillian to push her down to that plus 140. I think for me, if you look at the weigh-ins, at my first take off of that was, I think people just keep overestimating the size difference. I think that Miranda Maverick looked pretty muscular towards that previous weigh-in, and also when you look at the Liana Jojo fight. But when you look at them at this current weigh-in, I mean, I really thought that they stood toe-to-toe pretty well. At the end of the day, Miranda Maverick probably has that power in the striking. I mean, size is one thing, but I think that generating power is a whole different ballgame. And I think that Gillian Robertson doesn't need to be a crazy power striker, right? Like, she just needs to have versatility enough to get the fight to the ground. She just needs to make you scared enough of her striking that she can change levels when she needs to, push you up against the fence and try to do that. One thing about Miranda Maverick is I think the feet are just going to keep moving. I think she's going to know when she's getting pushed up against the fence. She's going to be able to circle out of that. I think that when you see that Gillian Robertson is going to try and get that fight close enough and then up against the fence and try to work the way down, it's just, you can't have it telegraphed. You can't make it that single leg and take it down. I think that that's the one area where I'm hoping that when we watch this fight, we're going to see an evolution of both fighters, right? I kind of want to see how good Miranda Maverick's wrestling is overall, plus her just grappling and takedown defense in general. But at the same time, I want to see how good Gillian Robertson's striking is. I'm really hopeful that working with a guy like we just said, Tyron Woodley, if you look at the way he fought in his best fights, he's got great striking defensively and offensively, and plus he's got the great wrestling to go with it, right? It's what made him look so good against Darren Till. Nobody talks about that fight, but we will. I think that's where she benefits, right? She's working in a camp where the wrestling and the striking is the forte. She probably has arguably the best jiu-jitsu in that camp. So I think that's where you're seeing the hope that there's a huge improvement when it comes to the striking game and just the overall wrestling, right? To push that fight to the ground and impose her game. Because the one thing about fighters is when you are implementing a game plan that is fairly, widely known, you just have to be very, very good at it. And I think that, for the most part, it's not like she's just doing this on the regional scene. I mean, her UFC record speaks for itself. It's just that now as you get to the next level, you do have to find new ways of getting the fight to the ground. You have to be able to outsmart the chess game, right? We're going to see the biggest chess game of all time against, between Miocic and Ngannou on the main card. So those are the things that I think are going to come into play. And if she's able to be defensive in her striking and avoid the big punches and avoid the big damage that will slow her down, at the end of the day, you're taking big blows to the nose, you're taking big blows to the head and eyes and all that kind of stuff. Body too. I mean, that's the thing. That's just going to wear you down. And at the end of the day, you can stay alive in the fight and just keep going. But at the end of the day, slowing down when you're the person that has to kind of push the pace and Damian Maia this thing, that's the thing that always made me sad about watching Damian Maia fight late in fights is, you kind of knew what he had to do. And the moment the striking just looked too difficult for him to kind of surpass, or, the cardio from just taking so much damage just didn't stand up. It was it was just tough to watch, right? And I think in this fight, like if she's working on anything, that would be kind of the biggest improvement. I think that her durability speaks for itself. You look at the Courtney Casey fight. I mean, she came out of that, just like a magician with a rabbit, right? So I think that's where you can kind of see her sneaky ability when it comes to the groundwork. You can't have faith in yourself when you just go to the ground with her. Like you're better off keeping the fight standing. I think Miranda Maverick knows that. She's probably just drilling takedown defense and grappling. But I think I'm very excited for this fight because it gave us fans and them to train even harder for the same fighter. And I think that when you look at boxing. Boxing is one of those fights where you just get so much extra time to know who you're fighting sometimes and get to just take that time to just focus on one person, And in this fight game right now, we're noticing that the rotation can happen at any time. And so in this case, I'm really excited at the fact that we're getting to see two girls fight that have supposed to fight, that were supposed to fight before and are getting that opportunity to do it again. So we've talked about the odds. I think that they could be a little bit closer than they suggest, but at the same time, anything under minus 200 and plus 200 in that range in this game, I think is pretty close. So size is there. Let's see what happens. I mean, I can't wait for it.